Alright guys, so yes, another Pokemon controversy has emerged as of late due to certain revealed information regarding both Pokemon BDSP and Pokemon Legends. What we're going to be doing here today is discussing what the controversy is, why fans may be upset or, in other cases, apathetic to these perceived issues, and my own thoughts and opinions on the matter, so let's talk. Alright, so we're going to start with the BDSP news because this is pretty fresh and there are two main points of contention that have a lot of people upset. The first issue is the experience share. Once again, with these games, we are not going to receive a toggle, and trainers are going to be roughly the same levels that they were in the originals, which means that you're going to have a much easier time fighting them off, regardless of how many Pokemon you decide to train or have on your team, because all of them will be getting XP as long as they're in your party. I personally don't really like this, especially how it's handled in Pokemon, with the games already being very easy. Then on top of that, essentially punishing anybody who wants a more difficult experience by giving them more XP for catches. Not that catching XP would be an issue if you could toggle the XP share off. I personally remember in Sword and Shield having to avoid catching stuff in the wild area because my team would just get so over leveled to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. One-shotting everyone in your path does not make for a very fun experience. It makes for a kind of boring, bland, mowing over trainer fest. That said, a lot of people will say they don't care because they don't want to grind, and the beauty of the old system was that it was basically exactly the same, except you had the option to turn it on or off. So if you're one of those people who don't care about it, that's fine and your opinion's fine, but at least understand that with a toggle, it's something that can be added with a couple lines of code or an if statement or a switch statement or something like that. So the fact that it's been arbitrarily removed is upsetting for a lot of people. Other RPGs that tend to have an automatic XP share of sorts tend to be much more difficult and have more players battling on screen at a time, so you feel like your team is leveling up together rather than having no incentive to use certain Pokemon since they'll level up anyway. I'm not personally seething over this, nor am I losing sleep, but I can definitely see why people are disappointed. Next is the fact that single-use TMs are back, and this is a regression that I personally just don't really get because the system of having reusable TMs was present in ORAS, so it just seems odd that they'd go back to single-use TMs. The permanent TMs have existed since Black and White, and it's been stated by reviewers that you will be able to get multiples of each TM, but to me it just seems like an unnecessary hassle or grind, especially if you're looking to do some PvP. I mean, this is the type of stuff that encourages people just to hack their Pokemon so they don't have to spend unnecessary time hunting the same thing over and over again to have it on multiple Pokemon. Whether or not it'll be available through breeding like it was in the older generations, I don't personally know, but I hope it is, considering. Now, before anybody says it's supposed to be a faithful remake, this is just not the case because other quality of life features have been added, and I mean the argument saying, oh, it's a faithful remake, therefore that's why the TMs are single use, just doesn't make sense when you consider the XP share, which is a new mechanic from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee that's been retroactively added to the game. For me, the biggest thing with a lot of the stuff that I see being regressed is just like, why? Why take away player choice? Why make the game more inconvenient? Why take steps backwards? It's really funny because it's like two conflicting points, because on one end you have the forced XP share, which is this new mechanic, so people can say, well, that's just a Gen 8 mechanic and they're going with Gen 8, so that's why they're using it, whilst on the other hand, the TMs are a very archaic mechanic and people are going to say, oh, well, the game's supposed to be faithful. So to me, it just really seems like they just arbitrarily pick and choose which features they want to change and which features they want to bring back, and I don't really know why. And I mean, maybe this is just because I didn't have my hopes super high for the games, but like, I'm not losing sleep over any of this. There are other features in the game that have me intrigued, and I mean, it's been a while since I've played Gen 4, so I'm definitely still gonna get these games, but if you're someone who can't get over the EXP share or the TMs, and that's a deal breaker for you, or you just don't care either way, your opinions are valid. For Pokemon Legends, there was also a controversy concerning the game not being an actual open world. It's not a quote-unquote true open world experience like a lot of people had thought it would be. I'm guilty of assuming that the game was open world as well, and I do believe that they presented it in this way on purpose to sort of get that Breath of the Wild X Pokemon hype train moving forward, and now are sort of backpedaling on the fact that, hey guys, it's not actually an open world game, but instead it seems like it's going to be something more similar to the Monster Hunter Stories franchise, where you have some sort of hub area and you explore the areas around that, then you move to another hub, etc. So I've seen a lot of people get really upset that the game isn't going to be a true open world game, and maybe I'm just the weird one here, but honestly, that doesn't bug me at all. I think a lot of people put open world games on a pedestal and just assume every open world game is going to be great when that's simply just not the case. An open world game is only as good as the content on its open world, and if that content is lacking or the gameplay loop is boring or there's poor optimization, it can truly ruin that open world experience. From what we've seen with Pokemon Legends, most of the gameplay will just consist of battling and catching like any other Pokemon game, just with a bit of a twist. And I do fear that if it was some massive open world like Breath of the Wild, you'd have some real optimization issues and you might not even feel like traveling from place to place. For games of this size to work, you have to have some real provocation to actually want to explore the entire map, other than just, well, there could be some Pokemon there. But yeah, that's just to say not every open world game is immediately a 10 out of 10. I feel like there's a lot of public opinion that, you know, all games should be open world. We should have open world this, open world that. And I personally just don't think it's always necessary. While it can be great, games like Monster Hunter Stories, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Zelda the Wind Waker, Zelda Ocarina of Time, these aren't actual open world games, but they're still a ton of fun to explore. Even in Twilight Princess and Ocarina, where some of the Hyrule Field areas can be kind of barren, they're sectioned off in such a way that didn't make them feel tedious to explore, and they're some of my favorite games of all time. Anyways, my point with this is that if you're only excited about Legends Arceus because it was an open world game and now you're not buying it because it's not specifically open world, I personally wouldn't consider this news enough to turn someone off, as plenty of semi-open world games with open areas are still good, and if you're someone who didn't care for the game, it not being open world really shouldn't change your opinion regardless. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much where I'm at right now with the entire Pokemon situation. I didn't attach any unrealistic expectations to these games. I did have certain hopes, like for example, a Battle Frontier and BDSP, but I didn't hold my breath. And while certain aspects are disappointing so far, like the EXP share, like the TM mechanic, I don't think I'm getting the same level of dread or outrage as everyone else because I know not to expect the world from these games. Should the games be better based on the money in which the franchise brings in? Yeah, probably, but you have to be a bit of a realist about it too. I think when you get to the point like me where the games I look forward to the most are non-Pokemon monster taming games, and if an interesting or cool Pokemon game comes around, I'll pick it up, but not take it too seriously, you'll be in a much better headspace when certain disappointing news hits. For a lot of Pokemon fans, they haven't discovered the rest of the monster taming community or the games that offer Pokemon-like experiences and just put all their eggs in that one basket. So when Pokemon doesn't deliver the specific features that many fans or they specifically enjoy, or they change something, it causes a large backlash because these fans feel like they have nowhere else to go but Pokemon. Anyways, these are just my sort of unfiltered opinions, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who agree and disagree, and that's fine because, as I've said, every perspective, including my own, are valid and based on what we personally cherish about Pokemon. Some people like to get lost in the world. Some people enjoy catching all of the Pokemon. Some people enjoy PvP. We got shiny hunters, Nuzlockers, etc. And we all emphasize that different aspects of the game are the most important, and I think the crux of a lot of people not being able to understand each other's opinions and issues with more recent titles comes from that diversity of playstyles present. For example, let's say contests were removed from BDSP. There would likely be a huge backlash for this, and hey, I mean, I don't care about contests myself, but instead of criticizing and belittling people for being crucial of the removal of their beloved feature, I'd understand where they're coming from and understand that contests are important to them. Anyways, no surprise this ended up turning into a long rant, but I did want to just keep it real with you guys. And yeah, BDSP news on the XP share and TM front is disappointing to me. I'm not losing sleep over it, and the Legends Arceus not being a full open world experience honestly doesn't change my cautiously optimistic outlook on what the game will be, but I will say it does give me a little more assurance since I was worried about optimization. So if the game is actually created on a smaller scale, it could end up being beneficial to it. Anyways, guys, whether you agreed or not, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Was there anything I missed? Was there anything you think I should have added or anything you think I should have considered? Let me know. If you did enjoy my rambling and want to stay up to date on Pokemon news as well as the monster taming genre as a whole, and yes, there are tons of Pokemon-like games, definitely subscribe to my channel. We're getting really close to 20,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for all of the support. Special thanks to the channel's patrons, especially Jim Hamilton and StealCase, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.